So last week we were talking on the ill will. We were talking about the ill will, and we were looking into the area of overcoming the ill will. After you have a certain small degree of mindfulness, you recognize it or label it, and also you accept it as they are, and you need to overcome them. So when you overcome them, so by the way of vipassana, it means to note them. To note them, here it goes directly, put in the effort, face the anger or face the hatred or face the fear as they really are, and see how they change, see how they grow, getting stronger, getting less, it disappear, it come back again, how it kind of twists the mind, how it cramps the mind, how it burns the mind, how it sometimes it like makes the mind very contract the mind, grip the mind in that sense with fear or anything. So here your job is to take note of their characteristic. And it is good, as I said, to take note of these characteristics in many ways, especially in the retreat time, because you will be able to recognize them in the future whenever they come up, and you can notice them immediately. You're not tricked by them. You're not tricked by them. You can see them as they are. You know exactly this is already an anger. This is already a dislike or aversion. Because this hindrance, sometimes it likes to mimic. It likes to justify things that you don't realize that behind it is just a little discontent arising, little anger arising, little fear arising. Sometimes the mind tries to mask it, cover it with some thought, some kind of other thing. So it is good that for us to take note of those things. Taking note of this way also, sometimes we also notice this anger or fear. They are in relation or conditioned by other objects. For example, like the sound. If you hear something that is not agreeable to you, then the fear may arise. Because it's unpleasant, fear arises. When the fear arises, thought arises. Then you can see a stream of conditioning, object which is conditioning here and there. And then that is also very good, because you also, at that moment of time, you notice the non-self aspect of the ill will. And that is wonderful. Because you see into the nature of Dhammanupassana. Now, there will be times noting this anger, fear sometimes doesn't really work. But it will work when you are more advanced yogi, because that time your mindfulness, your effort is very strong. The moment they come in, you know, just observe them without even labeling them. Just notice them. They're already gone. So powerful is the mind when the mind is developed, properly developed. But if it is not developed, sometimes you have to use various methods. So another way of using vipassana is indirect method. That means when the fear arising, and you know that it's arising in the background, or the anger arising in the background, then you can actually ignore it for a while. Ignore it. Take note of like your rising, falling, your in-breath, out-breath, or some other sensation, bodily sensation, in order to pull the mind out into another object and arouse mindfulness from another object, and that mindfulness will overcome the anger in the background. So sometimes you just do this, and then you find that the anger, when it's not so strong, it just slowly and slowly fade away. That is also a possible possible way of dealing with the hindrance, or dealing with the ill will in this case. You can do that. Now we go to the screen sharing. Can you all see? Okay, wait. I make it bigger. Hold on. Make it bigger font, and then I put into focus. All right. Now, here we go on a vipassana direct way or indirect way. Direct way will be better in the sense that you see the true nature of the fear, the sadness, the anger, the ill will, the hatred, the resentment, the unpleasantness. It's good to see them because you will able to handle them better. A lot of time people don't want to face this anger. You see, this anger is something very ugly. Of course, it's ugly, but they don't want to face it. But it's important that in the vipassana we do face them face to face. Now, when we put this vipassana aside, we look into samatha. Now, in samatha, all forms of jhana, again, it's very helpful to overcome hindrance. Now, if you can able to develop any form of jhana, and then when you come out and then you do some vipassana, you see that the vipassana is not affected by all these hindrances of desire or ill will and so on. That one we have talked about it during in the sensual desire. But since that it also prevent actually the ill will from arising, then also I have to put it down. But the Buddha mentioned about these 4 Brahma Viharas: Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha. Metta as a loving kindness, Karuna as compassion, Mudita as altruistic joy, and Upekkha as equanimity. Now, in my opinion, that these 4 is that a Buddhist actually has to able to practice these 4. Most of the time, we only know how to do metta. And then when it comes into karuna, mudita, upekkha, then we also not so sure what is it about. Sometimes, especially like metta and karuna, loving kindness and compassion. How are we going to differentiate these two? So it is important that, to understand these 4 Brahma Viharas a bit more thoroughly, more deeper. I spoken about these things some time back. I think some months back. But of course, there are so many things in the Dhamma. It's not so easy for us to remember. But here in this samatha level, that when we incorporate into our part of our meditation, then that will be very good, because it overcomes the ill will much more faster. But you do not see its characteristic. You're seeing the characteristic is the way of vipassana. But samatha way one is you douse it. You douse the fire of anger, hatred very fast. Now, the Buddha says that, Bhikkhu, I do not see, this is blocking me. Okay, because I do not see even one other thing on account of which unarisen ill will does not arise and arisen ill will is abandoned, so much as the liberation of the mind by loving kindness. For one who attends carefully to the liberation of the mind by loving kindness, unarisen ill will does not arise and arisen ill will is abandoned. Now, liberation of the mind by loving kindness, here it goes into jhana. It goes into the development of jhana of metta, karuna, mudita, and upekkha. loving kindness, although the Buddha says loving kindness, but karuna, mudita, upeka also overcome other forms of unpleasant states of mind, unwholesome states of mind, which connected to unpleasant feelings. Uh, uh, Now, we are taught to do metta. Many of us able to do some degree of metta, perhaps maybe not so deep. But if it's at this time, like when you are in the lockdown, which Malaysia is starting again for today, for those who are, from overseas, and right now today they start a lockdown again for another maybe like 4 weeks, and see how it goes, whether the cases will drop or not. Now, since we cannot go out so much anywhere, so it's good that we can able to do a little bit of metta, karuna, mudita, or upeka. Now, if you want to do some metta, so my advice is that take a longer time to do it. And at this time, when you take a longer time to do it, means like take 2 or 3 weeks to do it. After all, you got all the time, you're gonna go anywhere. So take 2 or 3 weeks to kind of like deepen the metta a little bit more, if you want to, if you want to. So that will be good, because that you will see its different aspect of metta. You will see the difficulty of development of metta. You will see how you can able to overcome those difficulties that coming in. Then you also find that what are the words which is sort of like hit you in the heart, touch you in the heart. And then with that words, it brings out the metta, it brings out loving kindness. We don't have to, sometimes I read about metta and karuna. Sometimes people like to philosophize all this metta, karuna. Metta is really, you have to feel it. I don't have so many words to describe those things. I'm not a monk of words. I just tell you how to do it, how to bring it out, and then you feel it for yourself. And you feel it for yourself, and you know it's the nature of metta. Then when you are doing vipassana next time, you also can able to incorporate the metta into it. So you must able to develop it. You must able to you start off with some words that it's feel good to you. That, for example, if you wish yourself to be free from harm and danger, if these words are good to you, if you feel it for that particular day or for that particular sitting, then you sort of like, you can use it. Use it, and then you mean it. Sometimes, a lot of times when you do metta, we don't mean the words that we use. We don't mean it. So when we don't really mean it, then it doesn't come out the metta doesn't come out. So we say that may I be free from all kinds of harm and danger. Then you must really feel that you are free from all kinds of harm and danger. It's a wish. It's a wish. You feel that you are free from all kinds of mental suffering. Then you truly wish yourself to be free from that suffering. And then only the metta will start to work. Right? The metta will start to work. Of course, there are many other conditions before you want to even start metta. Even they mention that you must see the disadvantages of ill will or anger. You must see the disadvantages. That means in the various forms, you must see the disadvantages. And also, if you can, to see the wholesome side of the person. The wholesome side of the person, that means what are the dana that perhaps the person has done, or the speech, or the action, or the thought, or the whichever, which is wholesome, and then you focus on that wholesome part of the person. Then also it helps you to arouse the metta. That is before you start the meditation. Then when you do the meditation, then you must get your words which is helpful to you, which is you feel it meaningful to you on that particular day. And then you use that words and you repeat those lines again and again, then to bring out that metta. You start off with oneself, and then slowly you open up to the person that you are respectful. You have a certain degree of, you have a high degree of respect, or a group of people, whether you know them or you do not know them, and then you go further and bigger and bigger and bigger, until it becomes unconditioned. It becomes towards the whole universe that your metta can able to reach them. That is wonderful. That is very good. And it takes a lot of training. Sometimes when our metta is not strong enough, when we do arouse this metta, there will be other hindrances coming in, like thinking coming in. Then you break the flow of the metta, and then you have to start again, in the sense that bring back the mindfulness again, and then arouse that metta, bring back the presentness of the mind to arouse that metta. So every time, again and again, until you can have a more smooth, continuous type of metta. Then the metta will start going in deeper. Once it goes in deeper, but then there's another obstacle, is to able to expand the metta from oneself and then expand it to the bigger audience, finally towards the unconditioned. There's no condition. Every being can able to be touched by their metta. So it's not easy. It's a training. It's a long training, actually. So if you can able to do that, if you can do that, then it will be wonderful. Now, next time, when you come into vipassana, then when you are noting your rising, falling, and this one, after that, you remember of your certain incident and make you very angry. Then you note anger. Or the anger is like fiery, very strong, very, very. You cannot settle the fire down. So this time you switch over to metta. May he or may she be free from all kinds of harm and danger. You kind of like mellow down the heart immediately, because of your previous practice of metta. And then when you do that, the whole mind soften very fast. The anger will disappear, and when it disappears, when the mind is clear, you go back to your original vipassana object. You're not seeing the anger as they are, but this time is just to douse the fire, and then goes into vipassana again. And that is possible. But again here, your metta must be powerful. If your anger is more powerful than your metta, then it's impossible for you to overcome the anger. So if you can able to develop it right until the liberation of mind by loving kindness, that means under jhana level, then it will be very powerful. It takes a lot of training before you can able to reach into the jhana of loving kindness. So that is also one way of how we can overcome the anger. Now, karuna here, mudita and upekkha. Now, karuna is overcome cruelty, harmfulness of others. Because that cruelty also involves a terrible mind, a very unwholesome, unpleasant state of mind. Mudita also overcomes jealousy. Again, jealousy is you kind of like unhappy with other people's success. Your mind is very having a lot of unpleasantness when you see other people are better than you, or get promoted, or richer than you, or nicer, or more beautiful than you. So Here, mudita, it overcomes those traits, those jealousy, envy. Now, upeka here, it overcome the discontent, the discontent about with certain things in life. For example, that a simple example, when you're driving, and then when you're driving, you see the other side, people having, there was an accident, and you see the person died, and then with that, this time, you cannot do like metta, karuna, or mudita. The person already dead, Then that time, we reflect on upeka. Upeka in the sense that, yes, we are bound by our own karma. That means this upeka must come with wisdom, must come with proper, wise reflection, in order for us in order for us not to go into sadness, Because sometimes when we see this type of situation, our mind cringe, our face also become very, I don't want to see this, I don't want to see this. That means your mind is in a state of discontent. Your mind is, you are not, you don't want to see all these type of things. You just want to cover and see beautiful things. So equanimity is to prevent that state of mind to become going into discontent. Instead of, it stays in the middle. It stays in the middle and it balances in the middle. Even it sees all these things, but the mind is not affected. The mind is not affected, which is wonderful, which is good, Because a lot of times we are in the situation. Now, sometimes, like for example, when you go into places you feel a bit more eerie, and then you kind of like hair is standing out of fear, This time also is good to have some degree of upeka. If you cannot do the metta, then upeka is another one that you should do. So this time is to keep the mind balanced. Instead of letting the mind fall into fear, then this time is to be mindful, be aware, be knowing what is, your mind is kind of like having the situational awareness of what is happening right now in the present. And because of that stability, then the mind is in a state of balance. Another example is like when a lot of us afraid of heights, afraid of heights, When you look down, your knee will start to wobble first, right? And sometimes when you're going to China to Kai Kai, and then go for tour, they'll take you to all the glass bridge, the glass bridge, and then sometimes the glass bridge they purposely put it on across a ravine, across a very deep ravine, a canyon or something like that, and a lot of people, they dare not walk on the glass bridge because although the glass is so thick, but they look down so deep down. A lot of people have the knees also, the ankle also become very wobbly and they can't even walk. So much fear, Sometimes people video all these things for your entertainment, So these things is exactly because the upeka is not there. The upeka is not there. The balance of the mind is not there because the mind is totally goes into a lot of fear of heights right now, And then when it happens in this way, our mind is always will go into that. So it's good that we train the mind. And we train the mind is that to really face that fear, and then when we face that fear, we put in the upeka. We keep the mind mindful, we keep the mind steady. That is another form of upeka because it comes with wholesome mental state. Like karuna. Karuna here is like compassion. Compassion here is that when you see the subject when you notice something which is they are in the state of suffering at that present moment now. Whereas metta is a wish that you are free from all kinds of suffering, whether you are suffering or not, doesn't matter. It's a wish. It's like a good morning. It's a hello. It's a goodwill. Metta is a goodwill. It's a sincere goodwill. It's not about whether you have suffering or not. Metta is taking everything. Whether you are suffering or not, you spread it, your metta, so that you wish them, you touch them. Whereas karuna is different. Karuna is the subject right in front of you in the state of suffering. Now, for example, another incident is that perhaps again you are driving, and then you see another side. It's an accident, but this time the person is not dead, but he has an accident and then still alive. And then you see this time the person is going through a tremendous amount of suffering, but you cannot do anything because you're on the other side of the road. Now, this time you extend your compassion to the person. May you be free from whatever suffering that you're going through. May you be free from all that mental suffering. May you be free from all the physical suffering. Because this time is not metta anymore. This time is compassion really, because you really want to see the person is to free from those suffering. So again, you may use the same lines. Your music, you may use the same lines, but your intended object is in a different situation right now. So this is a bit of metta and karuna. Now all this metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, all this you can able to develop into jhana. And if you have those things, it's wonderful to practice. Wonderful to practice not only in samatha, but next time when you come into vipassana, it's wonderful. It makes the meditation so much more smoother. And then another thing about this metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, as I said, that you have to know how to develop all the four of them, because in the English translation they call it divine abiding, divine dwelling. That means you dwell in a state of mind like a Brahma, like a divine beings, like a deva, like a Brahma. So your mind is like when on a certain occasion, metta is appropriate. Then on another occasion, you have to switch from metta, you have to switch into karuna. Then perhaps after you switch back to mudita, or perhaps another time you have to switch to upekkha. Then another time you switch to mudita. You switch into mudita because maybe when you read news and then somebody get certain promotion, certain development, and then you wish they are happy. Then you wish them. You are having the altruistic joy on their achievement. You are not having that having the jealousy or envy for others. And it's good for us to train again and again, because a lot of times we don't do all these things. We just want to have metta only, but the other three we don't practice it so much. So this here in the samatha would be very good if you know at least you practice one of it. But in everyday life, try to practice all the four. It will be wonderful. In other times, we talk about metta a little bit more on its meditation. For tonight, I don't think I can have all the time to talk about it. Because there are many other skillful ways also for us to overcome our anger, our ill will. So what can we do? Now, other skillful ways here, It's not during in the time of meditation. Although I mentioned about metta, karuna, mudita, upeka. This one also falls under here. Some of it falls under here. So we'll see what can we do. Other skillful ways. That means during this time now when you're not meditating, during this time when you're not meditating, see what we can do. Now, these things are when I derive how to overcome all these things is mostly from the suttas and also from commentary. But nowadays, we have a lot of all these self-improvement, self-help books, to how to overcome the anger. Now those books at the back here, at the back of me, a lot of all this self-help, self-development about how to overcome anger, fear, and so on. But this is a very worldly ways of doing it. Not to say that they are bad, some of them are very good. They describe it very well. But here I'm more of going through the way of the Buddha, which is tried and it worked. Because I tried it myself and it worked. Other people tried themselves and it worked. So I stick to this. Not to say that this is the only way. There are many ways that we can do. So the first thing is this. Reflecting on karma as one owns property. All living beings are the owners of their actions. Karma saka, karma dayada, karma yoni, karma bandhu, karma patisarana. This one is that it's good that for us to every now and then to reflect upon the karma. And you have to reflect it with upeka, this one. Because sometimes devotees, just because they learn about karma and vipaka, the cause and effect or resultant, then they use this karma to whip others, to hurt and to verbally hurt others or also mentally hurt others. Karma you hurt me, you see, your karma will get back to you. Then we are using the knowledge wrongly. We kind of like justifying the karma is that the karma will get back to you. Sometimes when, for example, when we read about the politics, and then sometimes when you read the politics, it really make you into, you want to like, how could they do like that? And then after that you say, karma will get back to them. How come they steal so much and still so rich one? We work so hard until nothing much we can get. They still also, they cannot get into all this problem, the court case also no problem with them, and they're still laughing all the way to their bank, laughing all the way to their grave. And then after that, you say, don't worry, karma will get back to them. Karma will get back to them. That is not the way how you reflect on karma. That's a wrong way, because you use the karma. The back of your mind is that you already having anger towards the other person or whatever that you're reading, and then you try to justify it with karma and its effect. That is wrong. That is not the way how you're supposed to use the karma. When you reflect on karma, you have to reflect it with a calm mind, with a clear mind, with a rational, clear mind, not with an unwholesome mind. When you see a situation like, when you see the politician robbing, in the sense of robbing the people, then you have to like stand out a little bit. Stand out from that story, that whatever that you are reading, then you see, then you reflect. Karma is one's own property. Whatever one's do unwholesome, one will reap one's karma. You reflect it in that way. You're not using that karma in order to whip or in order to bash the person mentally or verbally. So you have to reflect it with a balanced state of mind, with an understanding, with a wise reflection. So a lot of times I've seen I've seen devotees, when they reflect this karma, they reflect it wrongly. So hopefully you don't fall into that situation, because it's very easy when you're having anger, you will grab anything, even from the Dhamma, to throw at them also, verbally or mentally, then you will take the sutta here, take karma here, you take Four Noble Truth here, whatever, then you are using it wrongly. So hopefully you don't fall into that trap. If you fall into that trap, then this is not how you overcome your anger. You overcome your anger, you have to reflect this carefully. For example, if somebody were to speak bad about you, then here, if you cannot able to open up your mouth, because you know that when you open up your mouth with unwholesome words, then there also will be karma. So therefore, when you reflect this karma, sometimes you just keep quiet. Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes you keep quiet. But sometimes you need to speak out also. It depends on situation. You have to see whether it is appropriate or not. Sometimes you have to speak out in the sense of, but when you speak out, the mind comes in with rationality and equanimity. Not out of anger, not out of spite. Because you hurt me, you talk bad about me, therefore I'm going to talk bad about you. Not in that way. The way of when we have a proper reflection of karma and its vipaka, then we have to watch our speech. Not to say we cannot talk. Sometimes we just have to keep quiet. Sometimes we have to open up our mouth. But when we open our mouth, we make sure that it comes with clarity, comes with understanding, and not based on anger. Sometimes you are in your office. Sometimes you are in your office, you need to speak certain things out. You cannot just let anybody, you cannot let people keep on bullying you again and again and again. You got to speak something out. But when you speak it, you have to speak it firmly, clearly, and not with anger. That is something for you to learn. I cannot teach you everything. Or self-admonishment, Dhamma talk. Here, Dhamma talk, this is mentally one. This is, I'm not talking about somebody talking to you. If somebody talking to you about overcoming ill will, then it's good. Like for example, in the present moment right now. But here, self-Dhamma talk or self-admonishment is when we are in a certain situation, then you Dhamma talk yourself. Then you remember certain passages from the sutta. And then the Buddha says that, for example, you want your anger to be carved on a stone, or you want the anger to be carved in the water, or you want the anger to be carved on the wind. Then which one will you choose? What does it mean when it carved on the stone? That means your anger is going to be very long. Carve in the water, it is there for a short while. Then it disappears. Then you carve it in the wind, there's nothing there. So when you remember, this sutta, if I remember this sutta, then hopefully my anger don't carve in the stone, carve it in the water. At least we lessen the anger a little bit. Then you'll be very good. If you reflect it in this way, then it helps you to reduce your anger. Self-admonishment, or sometimes self-admonishment also is also in a sense of you admonish yourself. It says that we don't have to roll in the mud or in the feces like what they are going through. If they hand you or the Buddha said that if they hand you a gift and you don't want to receive it, whose gift is this belong to? And then this gift will still belong to the person. So too, if they hand you anger, you don't receive it, then whose anger will still be the other person. Sometimes you admonish yourself and something, so you become more calm in that sense. If you can do that, of course, it's not all the time it works. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it works. For some people work, some people doesn't really work. It depends on your faith, on your understanding of the Dhamma. Okay? So something like that. You self-talk yourself. Now, seeing dangers in the disadvantage or seeing the dangers or disadvantages of anger, jealousy, fear, etc. Now here, it's good that sometimes we see into the anger. We see into the anger, for example, the Buddha says that if you have a lot of anger, then perhaps next life also reborn in the woeful states. It can condition for you to reborn in the woeful states. And then, or you, when you have anger, then sometimes then it says that the face will become very ugly and so on. Something like this. You see the disadvantages of anger. You see its consequences of anger. Anger is terrible. Anger. Because this anger, when it comes in, it becomes violent. When you become violent, we do all kinds of wrong things. So this one, you look into it. See that there's advantages of anger. Now here, the seeing the goodness in other person. This also is very difficult to see. Because when you are angry with somebody, the whole anger is like a big, huge mountain right in front of you. You cannot see past that mountain. You cannot see past the anger and see into the goodness. And this takes a lot of training. This takes a lot of training. You see, as a monk right now, usually when we go into places and we meet with some devotees who are very sneaky. Once in a while, not many. In the Buddhist people are more or less very calm and more or less because of a certain degree of Dhamma is there. But once in a while, you meet with people who are very sneaky, very cunning, very got ulterior motive, and it's bad ulterior motive. And there are devotees that most of the monks knows that they are like that. But because of monks, don't open up their mouth. Monks just be patient, and then because we see you for a while, after that we move away or we go on to another place. But there are these people who are just like that, So the training is this: when you see these people that you don't like, then again, can you see past them? Because these people also, although they have a lot of ulterior motive, a lot of very sneaky behavior and all that, but they still come and do dana. They still have some degree of sila, maybe the 5 precepts, but other than that, they don't keep already, But can we see past those things, and then you see into the goodness of another person? That is take a lot of training. So, you see, like in the beginning of the practicing of metta, it is advised that your enemy, you don't start with enemy. One of the criteria is that you don't start with your enemy, and because your metta is not strong, and your development of your mind is not strong. So you don't start, because the moment you see your enemy, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of unpleasantness, resentment towards that person. So here it's difficult in the beginning part, but it's a matter of training. In the metta, when you train further and further, finally, this enemy also you must able to bring about that strong metta comparable to the person that you respect, the same amount. If that respectful person can give you 100% of metta, so too in the further development, that enemy also can give you 100% of metta. Yeah. But it's difficult for us to pass through. So it's all about training in the daily life. When you see a person is anger, you have a lot of anger with, then in other times when you're not so angry, can you reflect on the person's goodness or not? So perhaps that he is still or she also able to do a lot of dana and be sadhu the person for those things. And he able to do some chanting, he able to do these things and those things. So can we go through the looking into the goodness of the other person? Again, this is training. And when you able to train in this way, very quickly, the person, you don't have much of anger. But doesn't mean that you have love for the person, You have more upekkha for that person. That means you neither have joy, also you do not have anger towards the person, but you understand the person and you can able to see the goodness in other person. Then it comes with mudita, it comes with upekkha, for example. Then it's wonderful if you can do that. Yeah? So too, nowadays that whenever I do metta also, sometimes purposely I bring in the people I don't like. I bring in and then in the practice, then the person that I don't like also I can able to give metta to all of them without any difficulty of the heart. It's all about training. It's all about training. So this one is difficult to do, but somehow or another, if you do it, you become very skillful in it, and then very fast, this one is over. Your anger is over. Now, when we talk about this, metta, karuna, mudita, and upekkha, it's meant for people and beings. It's not meant for things or inanimate objects. It's metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha. It's meant for beings, person, beings, living beings, seen or unseen. But then there are also other things that can cause your anger and resentment and difficulty. So therefore, being patient is very important this time. Being patient. Also, it's kind of like equanimity of the heart. That you don't fall into anger, but the mind stays being patient. Now, being patient of what? Now, this, for example, being patient of the weather. The weather is so hot, terribly hot. Then that time, you have to be patient. If you don't have patience, you see that the mind is very discontented. Where's the air conditioning? How come? Your mind is just unpleasant. Sometimes if you are driving in the hot day, you find that your mind is very unsettled. Unsettled. The mind is unsettled because the body is unpleasant. Then it keep on coming, rolling, a lot of thinking, a lot of this one. And also that, of course, during in the driving and so on, sometimes people have a lot of anger during driving. And you all know that there are a lot of times the road bullies come out. Sometimes you just honk them and then they come down and then they utter all these harsh words. And the worst still, they come and bash the car or hurt the other person. That is terrible. That's really uncontrolled anger. So a lot of times you have to be patient. So driving, when we are driving, or when the weather is not right, or when the food is not so good. As a monk, for example, as a monk, not every time we get all this pleasant shelter, like in Peace House, things are very pleasant here. But not every time I get all these things. But sometimes I go to other places. There are mosquitoes. The heat is strong. The heat is, unbearable. And sometimes you have other neighbors are terrible neighbors, and so on. So a lot of times we have to be patient. If we are not patient, our attitude now will become complaining this, complaining that, complaining everything. Then your relationship with devotees become very difficult. So a lot of times we have to be patient. So we have to endure. So sometimes, like we monks, we go out also. There are people in the public. Sometimes they don't like us. They don't like us. Like sometimes in the Chinese, when they don't want to see monks especially in the early morning, because they see monk is all bad luck. So sometimes they call you with all kinds of names. So we have to endure this type of verbal abuse and so on. Sometimes there are people out there, like for example, they are cruel and they are harsh. They beat up the monks, or they beat up this one, like what is right now happening in Burma right now. So the monks in a set state of training, they have to be patient. Of course, they are doing something for it, but it's good that we have patience in certain things. But patience does not equate into you becoming a doormat, that just let people step on you again and again and again and again, like that. Sometimes you can able to tolerate the abuse, but sometimes it is also good that if you incorporate certain wisdom into it, and you have to respond appropriately, not with anger, but if you know how to respond with your superiors, towards your children, towards your whoever it is, then it will be very good. So there are sometimes you just can't change the situation. Sometimes you could change the situation. If you can change, it'll be well and good. If you cannot change, you have to be very patient. So patience is a lot of things that we have. A lot of times we have to be training. We have to train. But patience is mental effort. It's a part of the whole mental effort. When you are during the meditation, vipassana, you go through pain. How do you withstand the pain? You withstand the pain because you can able to have a lot of patience. And a lot of patience, that patience means is equate to right effort. That means when you have that effort, you have a strong effort, your mind can stay on with the pain without going into anger, without going into aversion for the pain. Your mind can able to note, to scrutinize the true nature of the unpleasant feelings, the pain. So patience is mental effort. It's a right mental effort. So you have to train. Sometimes there are tiny resentment that we have, So we want to do things fast, especially, to do things fast and so on. Sometimes I notice that myself also the same thing. That, for example, it's just take a simple example. Sometimes I want to take some rice out from a container, But sometimes I don't find a rice scoop. Sometimes I just use my spoon. Then in the earlier days when I do this, I get very annoyed. How come the rice scoop also you didn't put? But nowadays, no. That means nowadays, even though I don't find a rice scoop, I just use a spoon just to scoop. It takes a longer time only, but finally you get what you want also, right? You still get what you want, the amount that you want. It's just a little bit when it doesn't go your way. Certain things when it doesn't go your way, if some things can do it but a bit slower, then be patient with it. Be patient with it, then that time the anger is not there. So sometimes this little resentment that we have, we kind of like we overlook those things. So take note of this one. If in your everyday life, see what are the things that you can be patient of. Sometimes small things. Sometimes like when you're washing your plates, for example, there are times that the water is a bit slow. Then you cannot change the situation. Then you got to wash your plates for a bit longer. Then okay. Sometimes when I stay in the places where the water to wash the clothes, to wash the robes, it's slower. It's not fast. So we got to wait for a while for the water to come up. And mind you, these robes is not as easy to wash. They are huge. They are big. It's not like washing a shirt or a pants. And robes are difficult to wash. If your hands, your fingers and your hands are not strong enough, it's very difficult for you to twist to dry it up. We don't have, some places we don't have washing machine. We have to do it by hand. So we have to be patient. So these things taught us to be patient in many ways. The monk's life taught me patient in many, many ways. Now, here, or you can remember about Bodhisattva's stories, when he wanted to become a Buddha, how in his past life he looked into patience. For example, like there are stories in the Jataka stories that the Buddha was, the Bodhisattva was a snake. The Bodhisattva was snake, and then he was a royal, like a cobra, a king cobra, something like that, and a royal naga. Like that. And then he was a royal naga, and of course they are very venomous. You can able to one bite and you will die. So he was abused by the snake charmer, and then the snake charmer caught him and then making into a show, like they blow the snake will come up, but the snake charmer abused him for quite a long period of time. But he endured it. Yeah, he endured it without biting the snake charmer, because one bite the snake charmer could die. But because of his training, he wants to become a Buddha. He endured all the abuse, all the punishment, the beating. So if you're able to remember, also is very good. Or what else? Yes, the story where the king asks the Bodhisattva, "What do you preach?" "I preach patience," said the Bodhisattva. "Oh, so you preach patience. Then, okay, soldier, cut off his leg." Then he cut off one of the leg. "What do you teach?" "I teach patience." "Okay, soldier, cut off another leg." "What do you teach?" "I teach patience." "Okay, soldier, cut off his hand." Then cut off another hand. "What do you teach?" "I teach patience." And then only realize that then only the king apologized. So something like that. When you look into the Jataka stories, there are many good stories there, and it's wonderful. Sometimes you read about these stories to give us a perspective of what the Bodhisattva could do. Then here, a general daily reflection of metta. This is what it means is that when you're not meditating every day, just now earlier on I spoken about it a little bit. Now here it would be good that every now and then when you are, when you are in the office, when you are walking, when you are in a bus, or when you're at home, you kind of have like a short metta. So sometimes, for example, when I go for walks in the forest, in the open area, then I share metta. May all beings around here, may the devas around here be free from harm and danger. I'm just passing through your place. I have no intention to chop down any trees or anything. Because sometimes I see the people who goes into hiking and all that, they come in with a knife and then they chop down here, chop down there. I say, this is not good. For me, I don't do that. I just pass through. I just pass through so that we just share merits and just passing through the place, just for exercise after all. And this metta will be very, very helpful. You never know how the devas, whenever in this type of situation, help you. Yeah? You never know. All you need to do is that you have faith in the metta, you have faith in the compassion. You see that you can have wonders. Yeah? Maybe one of these days, I'll tell you some other stories. Yeah? Reflecting on the benefits of metta. Benefits of metta here, well, there's a lot. I cannot go through all of it. You sleep well, you wake happily, you have no bad dreams. Yeah? Last week somebody asked me about bad dreams. Yeah. So if you have metta, if it's good, then it will be wonderful. Yeah. One is pleasing to the spirits, that means the devas. Deities protect one. Yeah. Fire, poison, weapons does not injure one, which is sometimes can be quite true. Yeah. One's mind become easily concentrated, which is also very true, because if you do it frequently, next time you go and do your vipassana, very fast your mind just come down. One facial complexion is serene. That means it's calm and serene. Die unconfused. If you don't penetrate further, at least you end up in a Brahma world. This one, I got no time. Of course, we can talk about it a lot. Yeah? But if you can be able to reflect this, one of it, or two of it, or three of it, it's kind of like you understand the karma and vipaka of metta. Not only metta have these 11 benefits. Mudita also will have these 11, mudita, karuna, upekkha also with these 11 benefits. Their benefits are the same. So not just only for metta, only for karuna, for mudita and upekkha as well. Yeah? So these are the benefits of it. This is a reflection of, in a sense of karma and upekkha, karma and vipaka. Resolution into elements. What do you mean by resolution into elements? Here I talked about it a little bit in the past. Resolution in the elements, that means that when you're angry with somebody, okay? When you're angry with somebody, then inside there, it's burning inside. Now, resolution into the elements, that you bring in the 32 parts of the body, yeah? From the head hair, body hair, nail, teeth, skin, sinews, flesh, then so on, heart, kidney, and all these things. Yeah? 32 parts of the body. Usually when we reflect on that, we look into the foulness of the body, the dirtiness, the ugliness of the body, that is for another form of meditation. But here the resolution into the elements, here it means that when you get angry, then you reflect. Am I getting angry with the hair? Am I getting head hair, body hair? Am I getting angry with the body hair? Am I getting angry with the nails? Am I getting angry with the nail, head, hair, body, nail, teeth? Again, am I getting angry with the teeth? Am I getting angry with the skin? Then when you break down the person into all its components, and then you find that there's no anger. You don't, because the minds look at this as one, then its anger is a lot. And you break down into components. If you see the eyes, am I angry with the eyes? Am I angry with the face? Am I angry with this one and that? So you break down. That is to say, resolution into the elements. And it worked for some times. I've tried this before, It worked. It worked quite fast. It reduced the the anger. Now give a gift. Yeah? Give a gift here. When you're angry with somebody, you give them a gift. It sounds counter intuitive. Yeah? You when you're angry, you want to feel harm for the person, you want to this one. So giving a gift, it can be very helpful. Yeah? Because sometimes in the past also I've done this. Now there's one meditator behind me. It's every time meditate. It's like a turkey, you know a turkey. Turkey, like the sound of the turkey is like somehow or another. This meditator, there's some voice that's coming out from the sound, and then it sounds like a turkey, and she's sitting at the back of me, and then it makes meditation very difficult. So every time she made the noise, I felt very discontented, very unhappy. But then after that, later I was remember this give a gift. Then I got some medicine, and then I gave it to her. Not connected with her throat problem, but you just give her a normal gift. Then with that gift alone, then and then after that, whenever she makes those sound, it doesn't disturb me anymore. She still make those sound, but it doesn't disturb me anymore. After that I can able to meditate quite well. It's counterintuitive. That time I cannot understand what is this until I do it myself. Then only I see that it works. So some of these things that it is very helpful. Then here again, suitable speech and association with those with less or no ill will. Suitable speech again is the same as like sensual desire, that you want to reduce your ill will or anger. You don't mix with the people with a lot of anger, with a lot of ill will, with a lot of fear. You mix with them, you will become like them. And this is the biggest factor. All on the top there is you overcome. But this is where a lot of time we start, and we condition the mind very strongly and to start all this ill will, desire, and so on. So if you don't associate with them so much, then it gets less. And therefore, when you associate with the right people, then they also have a right speech also. Proper speech. The speech is not harsh, it's not terrible, it's not ugly. Then you also get a suitable speech. And the speech also talk about lessening anger, lessening ill will, lessening fear. And then it helps you to reduce your anger. Right? Okay then. So this is some of the things that we can. There's a lot of things that you can overcome. You can try and to overcome your ill will. Yeah? So I think that's it for tonight. That's it for tonight, and we will continue the talk on Wednesday on the sloth and torpor. Before we go, as I said, as I mentioned it in the Facebook, that during in the Vesak Eve, Reverend Sujiva will give a Dhamma talk at 8:30. At 8:30 on the 2 weeks from now, I think so. Okay, so we share merits. All right.